What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bodacious Rant. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. You know, Christmas is coming up, so hope everybody's in the Yuletide spirits and whatnot. This was a very fun weekend, mostly just because a sequel I've been waiting for a long time has finally come out. As you guys have guessed it, it's Avatar: Way of Water. The first one came out in 2009, so this is about 13 years in the making, essentially, just because for whatever reason, you know, James Cameron, not whatever reason, but for many reasons, James Cameron kind of put on hold and just wanted to keep advancing technology to make it. By the way, I was blown away by it. This is a non-spoiler review, just a heads up, guys, so we're not going to go too deep into spoilers or anything until the next one. We'll probably do another one soon, so keep an eye out for that. But as always, before we get started, please give us a like, ring the bell, and don't be afraid to subscribe. We do appreciate the following and the views, guys, so the more we grow the Rant community, the better, you know. So this movie, again, I would say it takes place about around the same time as the sequel took, about at least a decade or a good few years, because you know, since the first one, Jake and Neytiri have lived their lives on Pandora. They have a family. But then after a good amount of years, humans have returned to Pandora. The RDA company, like the mining company, have come back. And it's essentially just escalating itself into more of a war, actually, with humans and stuff. Not just so much as a skirmish. So a lot of good faces come back, like Sigourney Weaver's character. She comes back as Jake's daughter. Stephen Lang is back, and who else is in that? A lot of good actors. I can't think of them at the same time, but Matt Gerald, the guy who plays Norm. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But yeah, this movie is definitely longer than the last one. The last one clocked in around 3 hours. This one's more closer to 3.5 hours, and yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about it. Bern, what did you think of this movie?
I mean, the short and sweet of it is, like, you know, well worth the wait. You know, 13 years since the last movie came out. And like you mentioned, you know, James Cameron spent a long time developing the stories for this, along with the technology to make sure it looks good. And look, people, go watch it on the biggest screen that you can possibly can. I would recommend it in 3D, which is something I would never do for any other movie. It was just so good. Like, the visuals alone, like, you see all that time that was put into it. It's right there on the screen, and it's probably one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen. And I think everyone that goes to watch this movie will have ever seen up to this point. All of it was just so good. The world is just continues to be like more and more fully realized. As you mentioned, we get all the returning characters back from the first movie. You know, the avatars and the Navi from the Motikaya clan, I believe is what they were called. So yeah, we get to see them. You know, like you mentioned, Jake has a family, so we have a lot of new characters in the kids. You know, the Solis that I thought were great. You know, I was surprised that how much I liked all these kids. I don't know their ages, you know, of the real live actors, but you know, they sound like kids and they act like kids, and they are pretty good. And along with them, we get introduced to the Metkaina clan. Hopefully I'm saying that right, because I've only seen the movie once. But yeah, with that, we get the introduction of Kate Winslet and her character, Cliff Curtis and his character, and all the other members of that clan. And they're all very interesting too. So just the fleshing out of this world that this movie, you know, builds upon from the last one, I think was absolutely magnificent to go along with the visual splendor of it all.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I mean, the other thing, James Cameron, he is definitely considered the king of sequels. You know, he made Aliens, Terminator 2, and I know there's got to be one or two things. I can't think of them at the moment. I'm blanking out. But
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, outside of this one, you know, the Terminator 2 and yeah, Aliens.
For sure. You know, another thing he really improved upon was just, I think, characterization. I think he did a much better job for all sides of characters. I know the last complaint with the first one was that the bad guys didn't really learn a damn thing. Where this time, I think, again, every character goes through some sort of growth within this movie. So I thought that was great. And then the action and whether it be like combat or just going through like certain not adventures but through trials, I guess, in their growth. Those were really well done too. And the 3D, yeah, it feels a lot better than it did like 10 years ago. So that I thought that was really cool. Um, yeah, basically what you said, Burn. Visually, it was fantastic, and story wise, it was definitely solid. All I can say is I definitely want to see Avatar 3, 4, and 5. Essentially, I definitely want to see how he's gonna keep taking this story, where it's gonna go, and what it'll do. So, with that being said, ooh, I don't know, ranting wise, I'm gonna give it a hard. You know what? Screw it. I'll give it a 5 out of 5. It was a pretty solid sequel for me. It kind of met all my expectations while, you know, doing great by expanding on the lore and stuff of Avatar. So I really liked it. I mean, I already saw it a couple times, both in 3D, but IMAX is definitely much more worth it. Where I felt like the 3D with Dolby wasn't as good. I don't know why, but it just didn't feel as good to me. So yeah, definitely go see it in theaters, and yeah, 5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, interesting. I'm also curious how people react to the high frame rate. I mean, you and I saw it in IMAX 3D, and in that showing, it also had the high frame rate. And for people who don't know, movies are usually 24 frames per second, and in this movie, it jumps up to double that, 48. And more often than not, that comes in around the action sequences or sequences when there's a lot of movement and things happening on screen. I personally didn't mind it. I think since the last movie came out and the technologies have gotten better, I mean, I think we've kind of grown a little bit more used to higher frame rate things. Like nowadays, we play video games in 60 or 120 frames. So I think the eyes sort of like caught up to that, to where we see what's going on screen and it doesn't jump out like it used to with a lot of movies that came out, like namely that comes to mind, The Hobbit and Gemini Man, which came out a few years ago, where they used that high frame rate and it just looked weird. I will say there were certain moments, and that was mainly when there were people, like actual humans on screen, where the high frame rate stuck out. But other than that, everything just looked amazing. And like I said, the CGI was great, and the 3D use was great. But if you're gonna see it on a regular screen, I think you'll still find a lot to really like take away from the visuals on this. The characters, they were all great. Like you said, they all have their arcs, and yeah, I will say definitely the villains were a lot more interesting this time around. I think they could have gone a little further in terms of like the villains and like the characters like changes that goes on there, but I have a feeling that might be saved for the next movie or one of the few movies coming after. I think they're setting something up with that, definitely going forward. But in terms of negatives, I would say the second act, while I really did enjoy living in this world and experiencing this new side of Pandora with this water tribe, I do think there are certain points where the movie, or there's certain plot lines that get a little bit extended too much. Like, I think the movie does a good job of getting its point across. And that, James Cameron is a pretty big environmentalist, and the first movie was very much a commentary on our forests, and this one is definitely a commentary on our oceans. And I think, he gets the message across here in a certain plot line that I don't want to spoil for people. But I think it just kind of goes on for a little bit too long, where it's like, okay, I understand what you were doing here like 20 minutes ago. So I think that sort of like padded out the length of it a little bit. So that's one of those little pacing things for me, where normally I wouldn't mind. I'm sort of a champion for longer movies if they feel like they need to be the length that they are. In this case, I was like, okay, maybe you could have taken a few little things away here and there to just make it a little bit more tighter and feel smoother. Again, I've only seen it the one time. You've seen it twice. I don't know if the pacing issues feel different from the first viewing to the second. But for me, yeah, the first viewing, it was like, I wasn't like bored. I wasn't angsty or anything, but I felt like, okay, like we can get moving on from this point. And yeah, I think there was another character, a human character, I'll say, where the motivations weren't always quite clear to what was going on. So again, maybe I might be something they're setting up for future movies, but I can only review the movie that I saw. So I mean, that was a little bit of a detraction for me. But other than that, yeah, the characters were awesome. Again, the visuals were great, and I think this was a movie that was well worth the 13-year wait for the visuals alone. I mean, like I said, people go watch it on the biggest screen you possibly can, and in 3D if you can too. So for me, this is going to be a 4 out of 5. Awesome movie. Definitely going to be on my top of the year list. Well, I'm working that out, seeing where that'll fall, and we'll definitely talk about that when that comes in. But yeah, if there's a movie to go watch during this holiday season, it's this one.
For sure, Burn. No, and that's totally fair. Honestly, I think it was paced pretty about the same for me for both times. I didn't quite mind it. I do kind of agree with you on the human character a little bit, but again, this is all. He has openly said he's already made 3, 4, and 5, or he's getting ready to. It's only a matter of this movie does well enough, I think, both critically and financially. That's the decision he'll make from there. But at the same time, the way it ended and the stuff it was setting up, it's like now we kind of have to do at least 3 for sure. So, yeah, that's totally fair, dude. Like I said, this is just one of my favorite franchises. So I was like, I gotta give it, I gotta go all the way with it. No, I really loved it. So
I will definitely agree there. Where the first one was like, okay, that was cool. You know, if they make more, great. If they don't, whatever. That the first one was awesome. After this movie, I absolutely want more. I definitely want to see more of this world. Again, just everything he's doing with this world is so amazing, and that third act was great. Like all the action sequences there, I just want to see more of that at the end of the day. So keep them coming, James Cameron. If you're definitely doing like 3 or 4 more.
if James, if you actually do watch this, please comment. That would be awesome. But like I said, guys, this is definitely one we recommend seeing in the theater, especially IMAX 3D, because it's definitely worth the visual experience. And also, if you remember the first one, just repeat it if you did it the last time. But other than that, anything else you want to add on to this, Burn?
I guess a quick shout out to the music. I thought the music was great. I forget the name of the composer this time around because the
James
last
Horner.
time James Horner was the composer of the last movie, and unfortunately he's passed away since then. So one of the people that helped him out on the score of the first one is definitely back and recomposing things from the first movie and adding new elements in this one, and I thought it worked great. Again, visually, audio, all that stuff, it all worked to make the movies good. I have done a bad job of shouting out the composers of our last reviews, and definitely want to give this guy his credit too, even though I'm blanking on his name. But you know, he did a really good job, and you know, the music of Pandora is great.
Yeah, I only saw the James Horner this time around with the credits, just because the first time I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm sorry, I gotta get out of here. But, yeah, no, don't worry, Burn. You could always see it again, and then just
Simon Franklin, I got it.
Yes. Oh, there we go. You looked it up, even better.
I looked it up. Quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes,
That works
shout out
too. Or just go see it again. Doesn't hurt to throw money at it. But
yeah, this is one that's gonna be some repeat viewings for me. Again, even after I said the second half felt a little bit long. It is a long movie, folks, but
yeah,
the entire time I was just like wide-eyed, like, oh my god, I can't believe this is real. Like I had to check myself a few times, being like, this is all fake. This is all CGI, and I was just like, that blows me away.
that just goes to show why it was worth the wait. Just the technology on making these visuals look that real was great. But for those of you guys, if you saw it, what did you think of the movie? Did you love it? Were you bored by it? Did you hate it? Do you want to see the sequels? Let us know in the comments. And as always, guys, I hope we all have a happy holiday season. We're definitely gonna have some more stuff coming out, especially like our year-end roundup of like the 2022 movies. So keep an eye out for that. But as always, guys, stay bodacious and keep on ranting, and happy holidays from the both of us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.